The readiness myth. You want to be independent, to leave your 9-to-5 job. You have the idea, some money, an interested investor, the proven prototype of your product. You're ready to start. But a voice inside of you says, I need to be ready first. That's the readiness myth. It's the belief that readiness is something you acquire before you begin, like a skill or a credential. But readiness doesn't come from outside validation. It's just an internal state with your mind telling you, I'm ready. The myth is that having more and more things done is important, that you're being wise, that jumping in without readiness would be reckless. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain doesn't know the difference between ready and comfortable, so it uses the word ready to mean no discomfort expected, which doesn't exist. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Look at any person who's done something meaningful. Ask them if they felt ready. They'll laugh. They'll tell you about the moment they moved anyway, not before the fear disappeared, but while it was still there. And what does it cost you? Waiting to be ready costs you time. It costs you mental energy, and it costs you experience, because the only way to learn is by doing. This is good to know. Readiness is built by starting, not by waiting. You only feel ready after you begin, not before, so stop waiting for the green light. You have permission right now. The only readiness that matters is this. You're willing to feel uncomfortable while you move. Everything else is just your brain buying more time. The timing illusion. Now isn't the right time. You're about to launch your product. But there's an eclipse. Trump went on war with Iran. The stock market is losing. The algorithm is changing. Ronaldo is not scoring any goals. There's always a reason. Bro, that's the timing illusion. It's the belief that there exists a moment when everything aligns perfectly, when conditions are optimal, and the stars have literally aligned themselves in your favor. That moment doesn't exist. The myth is that you're being strategic, that you're waiting for leverage, that knowing timing is a skill you possess. But here's the truth. You're most probably just afraid. And the timing isn't right sounds way better. Then I'm scared. Look at what you're actually waiting for. A more stable economy, fewer competitors, better technology. Messi lifting the World Cup. Again? Come on, bro, those things are not for you to worry. You're not waiting for the timing. You're waiting for certainty. And certainty is a lie. The cost. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, you're getting older. The market is shifting without you. The way Insta's algorithm worked 6 months ago won't work now. The window closes whether you jump through or not. Here's what actually moves the needle. Start when conditions are imperfect. Learn while you're moving. Adjust as you go, because the person who starts right now will always beat the person waiting when conditions are perfect. Because as Hormozi says, starting is the perfect condition. You see, timing isn't something you find. It's something you create by taking action. The research shield. You're sitting at your desk, thinking, I need to read more before I write my ebook. There are 12 browser tabs open, 3 courses bookmarked, 2 podcasts queued up, 4 books collecting dust on your shelf. You're so prepared to begin. You just need to finish 1 more course, 1 more motivational video. Oh my God. A new insight would make your book a New York Times bestseller. That's the research shield. It's you telling yourself you need more knowledge to avoid testing yourself out. The problem is, when information becomes a shield, it lets you feel productive and step away from actually trying. The myth is that you're being diligent, that you respect the craft. That knowledge is a prerequisite to action. Some of it is, but most of it is avoidance. Here's the gap nobody talks about. There is a knowledge you can only get by actually doing the thing. Reading on how to write an ebook won't make you a top book writer. Watching Gordon Ramsay's show doesn't teach you how to run a restaurant. You can't learn to drive by how to drive a car on YouTube. And Jeff Bezos' videos won't make you master the panic of your first customer complaint. That knowledge only becomes available when you take action, because it's hands-on experience that actually counts. Look at your learning pattern. The course you took last month. Did you apply any of its lessons? How would you know if the pickup line works if you haven't used it on any chick? The cost. You're overloaded with information. You're informed, but not in action. You are, not yet, walking the talk. And your confidence shrinks because you know how much you don't know. Here's what you do. Learn enough to start. Learn the rest by doing. Knowledge isn't a how-to guide, bro. It's what you know after taking action. You don't need to read every book before you write. You need to write badly first. Then learn what makes writing better. Same with everything else. Doing and learning beats all perfect planners. Every single time. The pressure promise. The deadline is in 6 hours. Your adrenaline is pumping. You're focused like a laser. Because you keep telling yourself, I'm the best when I'm under pressure. You've convinced yourself this is your superpower. Bro, that's the pressure promise. And it ain't nothing but a big delusion. It's the story you tell yourself to justify putting things off until the last possible moment. It's like Steve Jobs sketching a second camera at midnight before the iPhone launch. It's too late. The myth you have is pressure creates quality, that you need the panic to perform, that this is a personality trait, not a habit. Here's what's actually happening. You're not working better. You're working in crisis mode. Your brain releases a flood of chemicals. It feels like peak performance, but what you're experiencing is survival. And survival can look a lot like genius when you're in the middle of it. Look at what pressure actually costs. It gives you stress every time you work. It stops you from planning ahead. It reduces the quality of your work because there's no time to refine. It drains you because your body is in constant alert, and you wonder why you're exhausted all the time. Meanwhile, there's a person doing the same task who is calm. Guess what? Theirs will be better because it takes less out of them, and they'll be able to do it again tomorrow. Here's what you need to know. You work better under pressure because you've never given yourself the experience of working without it. Start one thing early, just one. Feel what it's like to work with space, to refine without panic, to think instead of react. That's when you find out what you're actually capable of. The pressure promise is just procrastination dressing up like Iron Man. The organization detour. Your desk is a mess. Your files are scattered. Your notes are in 5 different places. And you whisper to yourself, man, I need to organize things first. So you spend the weekend organizing. You get a new planner. You set up a new system, new folders, new color codes, new apps. Your setup is perfect. Then Monday comes, and you still don't start. That, my friend, is the organization detour. It's the desire to arrange and optimize the environment before creating anything, where cleaning up becomes the work instead of the actual work. The myth is that you can't be productive in chaos, that a clean environment creates a clean mind, that once you're organized, everything will flow. Some of that is true, but most of it is you simply being a lazy bum. Your brain doesn't know the difference between planning and doing. So while you organize and create the perfect environment, it signals your brain you've climbed a mountain, success. And you're not even creating, you're curating. You're not building, you're beautifying the space where building would happen. And you get a dopamine hit of productivity without any discomfort of doing. And it's even worse than the Avengers, laying out the plan and getting their weapons and ships, but never actually going to fight Thanos. The cost. You have the most organized life with the least to show for it. A perfect system for nothing. Sticky notes all over the place. You can find everything you've never done. Here's what you do. Work first. Organize later. Your first book doesn't need a perfect structure. Your first business doesn't need a color-coded dashboard. Create the mess, then organize it, because you learn more quickly when you're already in action. The comfort negotiation. You want to work, but you're tired. So you take a nap. You still don't feel great. So you grab coffee. Still not quite there. So you scroll for a bit, just to get into the mood. Your emotional state isn't right. And until it is, you can't possibly start. That's the comfort negotiation. Think of yourself like a ship in harbor. It will always be safe in the harbor. It will be stable and unmoved. But ships are built for sailing in the deadly sea, not the harbor. The myth you have is that you need inspiration, that creativity requires the right mood, that motivation must come before action. I'll work, but only when I feel energized. I'll start, but only when I'm not stressed. I'll begin, but only when I'm in the right mind. If you're negotiating with yourself like this, then you're preparing to fail. Each negotiation is reasonable on its own, but it's all nothing but the ransom your comfort demands from your ambition. The cost. You never learn that you can work through discomfort. You never discover that mood follows action. You stay dependent on circumstances being perfect. And circumstances are never perfect. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Action creates the mood, not the other way around. You don't feel motivated, because motivation is toxic. Motivation can never be with you every day. What you need is momentum. You write, and the writing creates momentum. What's good to know? Start before you feel ready. Start despite how you feel. Work for 10 minutes while feeling awful. Watch what happens to your mood. The discomfort usually goes once you're moving. Your emotional state will shift, but only if you move. Feeling good doesn't create action. Action creates good feelings. Everything else is just a bad delusion. The momentum excuse. Imagine you're driving a car, and comes a steep hill. You accelerate more only to reach the middle, and then you leave the pedal because you're afraid of losing control. The car won't stay on the steep hill. It's going to come back down crashing. That's because, bro, you've killed the momentum. It's nothing but fear. Slowing down won't protect what you're building. You're just giving yourself the momentum excuse. The myth is that you're being thoughtful, that you're respecting the process. That momentum is fragile and needs care. But momentum isn't fragile. It's the opposite. Momentum is the force that carries you through difficulty, and you kill it the moment you stop moving. It's like you pedaling a bicycle and stop pedaling, only to lose speed and balance, and fall and pick it up, to start from a standstill. That is the worst possible thing to do. Look at what you're doing. You post content and get likes. Instead of riding that wave, you take a break. You make progress on a project and suddenly ease up. You have momentum in a relationship and then pull back. You're actually using success as a reason to stop. The cost? You go back to square one. And the square one feeling is so familiar that you convince yourself to start over. The cycle continues. Here's the truth about momentum. It's not about rest. It's about rhythm. You ride the wave. You keep moving. You celebrate and take the next step. You don't quit fitness after 3 months of gym. You cannot go on vacation after making your first sale. You use the energy of the wind to take the next step before you stop to rest. Momentum isn't something to preserve. It's something to amplify. Keep moving. That's it. The comparison freeze. Your coworker nails a presentation. Your sister-in-law launched a successful business. Your ex just wrote 3 books, built an audience of 100,000. My God, that hurts even more. And then you look at yourself. You haven't launched anything yet. No audience, no platform, no advantage. And you're numb. That's the comparison freeze. It's more like you reacting to everybody's success stories on LinkedIn and sedating yourself so much that you even forgot to change your profile pic. And you keep telling yourself, boy, I gotta do something, and honestly, why not? Elon Musk wants to go to the moon, and you haven't even been to the honeymoon, bro. See, that is bad. The myth you have is that comparison is motivating, that seeing what's possible fires you up, that you're being realistic about your chances. The reality is different. Comparison is paralyzing, and you're doing nothing but distracting yourself. Here's what's happening. You're looking at their result. You're lost in their success. You're lost in the glitters and glam. You're not seeing the business idea that has been on your desk for 6 months. You're not pitching anyone to work with you. Look at what comparison does. It makes your own progress invisible. Your best friend is going to Bangkok for vacation, while you're at home working on your side hustle. By that comparison, you're behind. But that's not true. It's like you stop watering your own garden and staring at your neighbors. It's just you ignoring your own progress and getting obsessed with others' success. The cost. You quit things that are actually working. You abandon work because you're numb. You stop before momentum builds. You stay small because staying small feels safer than comparing yourself to everyone bigger. What's good to know? Stop comparing up. Compare backwards. The only person who matters is yesterday's you. Are you better than last month? Do you know more than last year? Are you moving in a direction you chose? That's it. Everything else is just noise designed to make you quit. The only race that matters is you versus you. The reset ritual. I'll start fresh on Monday. You break your streak today. Something gets in the way, so you decide. I'll start fresh on Monday. Monday comes. Then you break again on Wednesday, so you reset. Next Monday. The next fresh start. You've been restarting since January. It's now April. And you're still on week 1. Bro, you're starting just to restart. That's all you're doing. It's scary because it's nothing more than the reset ritual. Bro, it's like you turning back the clock every time. Because you don't feel great about doing your work. But in reality, the time never resets. You just lose it by planning to start perfect. The myth is that you're chasing discipline, that you have high standards, that starting fresh shows self-awareness. What's actually happening? You're getting all the dopamine of beginning with none of the discomfort of consistency. Your brain loves a reset. It gets to feel excited again. It feels like, this time will be different. But this time won't be different. Because you didn't change. You just changed the date. Look at your timeline. You haven't posted on LinkedIn in a month. You dropped YouTube after 3 videos. You scrapped your business after 1 post that got 2 likes. And you didn't make any sales call this week because you just don't feel great. The cost. You only know how it feels to be in square one. You never know the true power of compound effect. Here's what's good to know. Pick a system. Commit to it for 90 days. Just 90 days. No resets. No starting over on Monday. No fresh starts until quarter 3. You'll be shocked at what 90 days of consistency can do. The protection lies so. Your best friend tells you. They have a big e-commerce idea. You want to protect them. So you point out the obstacles. The market is saturated. The odds are against them. Most people fail. You're being realistic, right? You're protecting them from disappointment. You're being wise. But here's what's actually happening. You're projecting your own fears onto their dream. You're using wisdom as a shield for your own inability to try. And you're calling it protection. Bro, that's the protection lie. It's more like that teacher in high school who taught you business and never even flipped anything on eBay. Their whole life. They never did any business. That's not how the world works. LeBron James wouldn't have been the legend he's today if he had taken the advice to play it safe. Don't do slam dunks or you'll get injured. Bro, it's your brain's most sophisticated excuse. It tells you to not take risks because it's wise. It tells you to avoid conflict because it's safe. It tells you to resign because that's the real thing to do. The myth is that realism is the opposite of delusion, that being grounded means being safe, that to acknowledge obstacles is the same as respecting them. Here's the truth. Most successful people aren't only realistic. They just have a different definition of possible. They see the same obstacles. They see the same odds. They see the same market, but they move anyway. And here's the thing about this kind of protection. It protects you from your imagined fears. It also keeps you away from possibility. The cost is this. You live your entire life inside the container of what you believe is possible. And that container was drawn by fear, not by truth. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they massively underestimate what they can do in 5, if they actually tried, if they stopped protecting themselves from their own potential. Here's what you're missing. Realism isn't about accepting the odds. It's about accepting that you won't know the odds until you move. Some people will fail. Some will succeed. The only thing guaranteed. The ones who never tried already know their outcome. So here's what matters. You now know what your brain is doing. And bro, knowing is never enough. You've got to do something about it. Because if you can't break a pattern, nothing will ever change in your life. These 10 excuses aren't character flaws. They're invisible defense mechanisms. And they're costing you too much. Money, time, relationships. They're stopping your growth. So the moment you spot them, you actually become self-aware. What's next is super important. Catch yourself in the act. Notice, don't judge, see it, and change it. This is what Growth Lab is built for, helping you break one pattern at a time. So if that's something you want more of, you know where to find it.